A very good morning to you. So it is D-Day for Duduzane Zuma.
Yes, Rebecca, and it's been a long time coming. As you've mentioned, this accident took place in 2014, and shortly after that accident, the MPA actually declined to prosecute despite a judicial inquiry finding that he was in fact negligent. But then last year we saw the MPA reviewing that decision after AfriForum announced their decision to, decision that they might be prosecuting Duduzane privately, and that's when we saw Duduzane coming back to the Randburg Magistrates Court, where he was in the dock since last year, about early 2018, and then finally today there will be judgment in the case of Duduzane Zuma. He's facing one charge of negligent driving as well as one charge of culpable homicide. You might remember that initially he faced two charges of culpable homicide, but one was withdrawn after that inquiry found that the second death was not because of the accident. That passenger died a couple of weeks after the initial accident, but still he is facing those two charges, so definitely a big day for the Zuma family.
And just having heard the arguments in defense of himself, Yanka, I mean, just from what we know and what we heard, what's the feeling? Has he made a convincing argument about his innocence in this?
Well, it's been quite a difficult case, Ivica, to be honest, in the court, because it was difficult to prove exactly how fast he was driving. There were some witnesses testifying to the fact that it was pouring on that day. You might remember that his argument was that his Porsche lost control on the highway when it hit a puddle of water, but he maintains that he was not speeding at that stage. So it's been quite a tough time for the state to put forward the fact that he did not take the necessary precautions when he was driving. We heard from the defence's side saying that they still agree to the fact that there was insufficient evidence to actually go ahead with this case, even mentioning to the court that there was clearly pressure because of who Duduzane Zuma is, saying that it is a weak case, and they're questioning the decision to go ahead with this case, and then saying also that according to the witnesses, the taxi and Duduzane Zuma was driving basically at the same speed from what we understand from witnesses. So why can you say that the taxi was not being negligent and he was driving at an acceptable speed given the weather conditions on that day, but Mr. Zuma wasn't? So it's been quite a difficult case, like any negligent driving case, in the fact that there wasn't really witnesses on that day. There was one passenger in the taxi, but her evidence has been disputed. And then there was this second witness who came very late in the case. He wasn't part of the initial case, but then he was basically a surprise witness for the defense team. Mr. Yankovic coming, saying that he actually heard about this case on the radio, and that he claims the presenter of this radio station was basically exaggerating, saying that Duduzane Zuma was speeding and he was being negligent, and then he decided to come forward and saying that he does not believe that Duduzane Zuma was being negligent. So quite a surprising turn late in the case. So we'll have to see what the judge decides today.
Okay, so will we have that decision today, Yanka? Because sometimes these judgments take a few days, but I'm assuming since it was set down for a Friday, they wouldn't split it over a week with the weekend in between. We will get that decision today?
As we understand, after today, Duduzane Zuma will know his fate. They only sat down one day for this judgment, and I do not expect it to be too long. I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's already some movement at the courthouse, because we do expect some family members to once again come out in support of Mr. Zuma. In the past, we've seen his sister, twin sister, as well as his father, the former president, Jacob Jacob Zuma, and judging by the activity going on already at this time at the court, we might see some of the same family members coming out to hear what this judgment is going to be.
Okay, so big day for Duduzane Zuma, and I wonder how it will go. Will it go his way or not? And Yanka Tome keeping an eye on that judgment in that case.